What's up, everybody? April 4th edition of the Fightful MMA Podcast. I want to say a happy birthday to my lovely niece slash goddaughter, Rachel. She's at her sweet 16, so behave yourself, young lady, because Uncle Joe is going to Buffalo, leaving tomorrow to cover UFC 210, and the thought was to bring my current guest right now, Elias Theodorou, with me. But as soon as he signed in, I noticed the background, and the background that he's in right now is his pad in Montreal, which would be, what, 6.5, 7 hours drive for you, Elias, to Buffalo?
But who's counting? It seems at this point I will be there in spirit.
Yeah. Was it cold over there? Because you got that leather jacket on.
Well, I just, it doesn't matter how cold it is. It's, you want to look cool, you want to look cool.
No, well, you're in Montreal. Obviously, we have lots to talk about in the world of mixed martial arts. Robbie Lawler, Donald Cerrone, Ronda Rousey, Rafael Dos Anjos, Bellator 175, UFC 210. But I want to talk about you for a moment because I'm noticing the scar is basically gone, or the stitches are basically gone. How's training been going at TriStar?
Good. What's called just got here yesterday. I'm going to be here for a couple of weeks. I'm going to have to actually wear headgear, which is no one's favorite. But with that being said, excited to get back in there and looking for a July fight. Something should be announced soon.
Oh, we hinted at it last week. I still refuse to go public with it because I'd rather you go public with it. Are you able to get public with it right now or no?
No, unfortunately not. For whatever reason.
Okay.
They just haven't figured out the exact day, if that helps.
Oh, so that means I know what city it's in. That means I know it'll be under a large scale of events, multiple events.
I can either confirm or deny.
Yes, okay, that's the story of my life. Well, either way, as soon as you get the news, please let us know. We'll be more than happy to discuss your opponent, who I believe will be an awesome fight for you. It's going to be great. But I can't confirm or deny that you're fighting this person or human being or item. We can confirm at UFC 213, Donald Cerrone is taking on a ruthless Robbie Lawler at 170 pounds. Is there, oh God, someone's going to get hurt in this fight, or maybe both of them are?
Yeah, definitely both of them are. And especially when you consider both of them come off of a TKO loss, you kind of feel for both their brains. I think with that being said, even though, ring rust is sometimes perceived as a thing, I think Robbie Lawler, with the wealth of, experience that he has, the layoff would be better for him. And I don't think Cerrone maybe took a long enough time off. So that's something, especially facing someone that's going to be much bigger than you, one would assume. But again, great scrap, and it's going to be fucking awesome. Or sad.
When you look at the way
or very sad.
Well, that's the thing, right? That's what many of us have been talking about. The awesomeness is also going to be a sadness because, what you fighters do for our entertainment is take abuse on your body. It's the whole point. People used to laugh at Lyoto Machida all the time. Oh, he doesn't fight, doesn't engage. Well, I don't want to get punched in the face unless I'm going to get, 3 or 4 back in there that could end the fight. And these two guys, in Lawler and Cerrone, it's just going to be disgusting.
But in the best kind of way, which is also the worst kind of way. But no, to your point, that's mixed martial arts. Both of them know what they're signing up for. I just wish maybe, when is the exact date for that one?
UFC 13, if I'm not mistaken, is July 7th. Don't quote me on that, ladies and gentlemen, but I believe it is July 7th. Oh, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I have opened up the live chat. So if you have anything you want to say, discuss with Elias and myself and more, please, by all means, do. I don't know if Elias will tell you guys to F off like the other guests have. He might if you piss him off, but I won't, and we'll see how it goes. But I think it's July, the Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. I'll double check here in a moment. But I'm also looking at the fact that both these two guys, it means a lot in the division because I think Robbie Lawler can lose because it's his first fight back. I don't know if, I guess if Cowboy can lose. Does that make sense?
He can. Yes, he can. What's it called? It's still Cowboy. People are going to watch him, especially where his career essentially is. I don't think a title contention aspect is not necessarily going to be in his sphere if he loses this one. But at the same time, he's also at 170, so it's all other confusing aspect. Will he go down to 155? Like, he has options. He definitely has options. and it's Cowboy. No way UFC is going to let him go to Bellator.
That is correct. By the way, it is July 8th for that event there. So it's going to be it's going to be a crazy weekend. I cannot wait for that event to go down.
I can neither confirm or deny I'll be there.
Oh, the hints are dropping. What's that little thing that you always do with that little thing that's on social media? Yep. Yeah, the hints are coming down. I'm looking forward to that fight. When I say that, I'm kind of thinking about who the pressure's on in this fight. I'd like to think it's on. It could be on both, and like you said, they're too exciting to not be given more fights, whomever the loser may be. And if the winner, I guess the winner, if Robbie Lawler can win, he remains extremely relevant in that title picture. If Donald Cerrone wins, he thrusts himself back into title contention per se.
No, definitely. It's just the strange thing, obviously, being it's 170. But at the same time, what did we come here for? Violence. And there'll be plenty of that.
Yes, David Sutton says, damn, you guys look stupid. You're idiots. Y'all fell off. Unsuccessful. Unsubscribe. Okay.
Well, thanks for the love, I guess.
Graham Williams says, whoever Elias's next opponent is, I just hope they don't spend any time shopping in Mexico for supplements beforehand.
Bingo. Me too. But if you have nothing to hide, then that's on my end. So all I can do is do me. But agree.
Yeah, I mean, have you ever looked at an opponent in the past? And I'm sure you have, but have you ever looked at an opponent in the past and like, man, this guy's jacked. He's been to Mexico a few times. This is going to be interesting.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. I've had a couple of those. Actually, about 5 fights.
You think, eh?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. About 5 fights of mine have definitely been against an opponent who recently made a stop for those good old Mexican supplements.
When you look at, mentally speaking,
emotionally,
when you're competing emotionally, psychologically, physically, not sexually. This is not going to get, that's disturbing, but we move on to the actual fight itself. When you take a look at an opponent potentially that you think to yourself, yeah, you know what? This guy's been he's been shopping for some of the supplements here. What goes through your head though? Because I've been told by many other guys and girls, the first thing you want to do is mentally break them. It might be a crappy first round, but the quicker you mentally break them, physically will follow right away.
No, 100%. One has to look no further than to someone like Vitor Belfort, who used different substances both properly. For whatever reason, it was, TRT was accepted, and improperly. And obviously, the superhero effects were evident. He, in my opinion, was the best fighter. TRT was the best fighter to ever grace the octagon. He was my boogeyman. I was terrified right when I was entering the UFC. TRT was at his reign, and I was like, oh my god. So it's I don't know. It's been a positive. I'm a huge believer in USADA. I know there's a lot of hassles that people complain about. I think it's the proper thing. I don't care if someone wakes me up in a random. No, they do it 3-4 times a year, 5 times a year, maybe. So let's say if you get hit. Well, it also depends whether you've been busted before, whether you don't, pass the smell test. Then the onus is on you to if there's smoke, there's sometimes fire. And I think in a sport that in many ways, has potentially at one point up to 50% or more of the people partaking in potentially some type of, performance enhancing drugs at some point in their career. I'm not saying that they're constantly using it. I would, I think the onus is on you to prove that you're not. And as someone that has never failed on something, and people have seen me a little chunky once or twice in a fight. So no one's gonna ever accuse me of being on what's it called, the sauce in that regard. But to kind of bring it back, the regional fights that I had that I was against someone that obviously was using or potentially could have used. I think the mental thing definitely was already there. I knew mentally he needed something at this point of the game to beat me, where all I needed to be was me, without getting too deep into it. I just think, especially in the regionals, one of my coaches, Lachlan, we had a discussion where it's like if someone needs to do, any type of performance enhancing drug in the regionals, you're not going to make it. You suck, like, mentally, and you need something else that your body could perform if you just push yourself.
Yeah, I know Pearson was always upset when he saw what was happening in the sport when he was competing, and especially George. We all know George basically walked away from the sport for a while because he got sick and tired of it. And he got sick and tired of it because he felt like some of his opponents didn't make sense how they physically were able to transform their bodies, and then got in there in the cage with them and realized these guys are very, very strong, and that is not functional strength that I'm dealing with right now. He also had some other, I guess, grievances that he'll never go public with that I know of, which is understandable. But it is what it is. Guys, don't forget, girls as well. Actually, the best comment yesterday came from, I think it was a female yesterday. She mentioned a really good point about Daniel Cormier. If he loses to Anthony Rumble Johnson this weekend, which we will talk to a little bit later on, if he's going to retire, probably not. But Graham Williams is now posting, I am waiting for a better opponent to claim Elias's hair is on steroids. Is your hair on steroids?
No, it is on the original 2-in-1 per plus.
You knew that was coming, Graham. Like, you knew you set that up for him to come up with
volume
some sort of
hold on, you keep talking.
Yeah, so Elias Theodorou, obviously, is getting up. You know for a fact he's going to get some product right now. He's going to showcase the product. It's a mainstream sponsor. We all know that, the guys that aren't making that much money and they're able to get the sponsorships, if you can go out there and get quote unquote a blue chip sponsor, hey man, you know what? It's pretty damn good. And with Elias, with what he did and his management and half, they were able to get a fantastic sponsorship for a guy that's got, quote unquote the best hair in MMA. Here he goes right here.
The best hair in combat sports is brought to you by the original 2-in-1. And this is obviously volumizing all day.
I was going to say. So say it again because he had it upside down.
Yeah, it's the 2-in-1, the original and best 2-in-1. This one specifically is volumizing for fine hair like yourself, and you too can have all this volume. Let's pick up some pert.
Okay. Unfortunately, I use a different product, and I don't want to get you in any trouble. But let's just say that it'd be fantastic if there was a baby commercial with yours truly and potentially a baby. And we're both follically challenged. Or actually, I'm follically challenged. Babies are bald as is. And you can make a wonderful family commercial with Showdown Joe and a baby talking about a certain product. We'll just say J&J. Is that fair?
Yes.
Yes. I've been using that since I was 18, shaving my head. Oh, look at this. TJD Fins for Life is back, and he says anybody that beats Sam Alvey is one hell of a martial artist.
You are not wrong, sir. You are not wrong.
Modesty. If it's not Pearson, it's Elias and their modesty. How's that, guys?
I was just agreeing. I said he wasn't wrong. That was modest. Modest as hell.
Well, the thing is, though, that fight there, I scored it, I think it was 30-25 for Sam Alvey. I joke. It was a good fight. It was a fantastic fight. You had your hand. Hey, listen, Sam Alvey's no joke, man. People can laugh. Yeah, what's that?
Look what he's done.
Yeah.
He's trying to run away from my fight.
Well, they can make fun of how he plods and he moves forward. Dude, that guy hits hard. Like, I mean, I think you know more than anyone. That guy hits hard.
Well, I don't because he didn't get me.
I saw that one coming. All right. TJD also wants to know, in your opinion, what's the most realistic super fight to happen within the next year? Oh, realistic. I'm going to... Well, we got ourselves Cerrone and Lawler. That's one hell of a fight. You can call that a super fight. I would like to see... can we count McGregor-Mayweather?
Yeah, McGregor. Yes, definitely. Mayweather-McGregor. The other one is... Depends on when the fight with George and GSP and Michael Bisping is. You could always have Anderson Silva if he wins against Kevin Gastelum fighting George for the middleweight belt. How amazing would that be in a weird way?
Sean Ross Sapp is all over that fight. If I'm not mistaken, it is Sean. He's the one that is saying as soon as that Bisping fight happens, should George emerge victorious, it's Anderson Silva next, not Conor McGregor, not GSP dropping to 170. It'll likely be Anderson Silva because that's the money fight the UFC would love to put on. It's the fight that we've all wanted to see back in the day, and there was obviously reasonings why George St. Pierre chose to not take that fight, and it wasn't fear.
Money.
Money was one. Money was one, but you do recall Anderson Silva getting caught, right?
Ah, that part. Yes. Oh yeah, that.
Oh yeah, that. So,
what do you mean?
Ask
Elias. Wasn't that the blue vial? Wasn't that the blue vial dick pill? Wasn't that legit?
Yeah. Ask Elias if you watched WrestleMania. This is coming from Fightful, so I don't know who's on the Fightful account. It could be Sean Ross Sapp. It could be anyone. If it's Sean Ross Sapp, there'll probably be a bald joke coming in because both you two guys have hair and I don't. But did Elias watch WrestleMania?
I tuned in. I watched parts of it, yeah.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah. It's fun. The pageantry, I love it. I love watching it. And what's it called? As someone that has actually done it, I can kind of in some way, what's it called? Well, I didn't like when everyone's just booing poor Roman Reigns. I only say that because I kind of look like him.
No, you guys don't look. I mean, you got hair, but I don't think you guys look the same.
Tell me. That's what people tell me.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, odd. Okay, interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, I did not have a chance to watch WrestleMania. I shouldn't publicly state that, but let's not forget, I rep FightfulMMA.com. I don't rep Fightful Wrestling. So I already know Sean Ross Sapp and Jimmy Van, the owner, is going to just label me and just destroy me. So I may have a chance to watch it tomorrow. Maybe when I get down to Buffalo after I get all my stuff done and get my podcast done with Pearson, maybe I'll sit down and find a way to watch WrestleMania. I'm sure I can find it online somewhere. NI space H, knee, GSP versus Silva ain't happening.
Okay. All right. He knows the future.
I think there's an opportunity for it to happen.
I think so. Timing wise, I think again that's the how would I put it? The last little bit of a legacy fight that they could have had. Like obviously, you don't want to see them put Jones versus Anderson Silva. Like poor Silva. Let's not hurt him. So I think that's the one that makes sense, especially if George is already moving up. Then there's no issue about size anymore.
On the Fightful account, Elias, it actually is Sean Ross Sapp. So I don't know if we should block him or we should do something about that. But no, Sean's the best. He's just, I try to get him riled up. I don't know if you've ever seen the podcast that I do with Sapp. Mm-hmm. Not only is he freaking knowledgeable as hell, he kind of embarrasses me at times because I know my MMA, I know my UFC history, but he comes up with really cool theories. But he's all about that Anderson Silva GSP fight. He wants to know how long would Goldberg last with you in a grappling match?
Well, gas for days. But what do you call it? I think I could. Well, that was almost an option. What's it called? I think I could take him.
Full out grappling submissions.
No, not anymore. What's it called? Now I'm totally taking this back. He's a double medalist, a gold medalist. I can't. Even at his age, like he's such a savage. Like he's still flipping. He's still suplexing all day. Like he's legit.
Goldberg is?
Wait, Goldberg.
Are you thinking Angle?
Yes, that's what I'm thinking. Retarded.
Yeah, because I'm like double medalist. Goldberg.
I'm retarded.
I don't know much about wrestling, but I thought you meant Kurt Angle. Yeah, no, I'm talking about Goldberg. I mean, there was an actual picture that came up on social media. I liked it. Then I realized, what am I liking here? Because they had a picture of Goldberg about 16, 17 years ago, and in the middle of the screen, it was sliced in half, and they had his body 16 years ago and his body right now.
He is a savage.
It was identical, man. It was identical, dude.
He's a savage.
He's not 51? Sapp, is he not 51 years old?
He's training with Simon Marcus. I mean, that is pretty legit. I was thinking Angle because there might have been an opportunity at one point. That's why I was thinking.
What? For you to grapple Kurt Angle?
No, never mind. Not grapple. Pro wrestling. But
yeah, because you got a pro wrestling career going as well. You had one for a while.
That's why I got that brain fart. That was a brain fart. That's why I went in two different directions because I almost actually did have a pro match with well, not even almost. It was just there were talks. early talks of potentially taking on Kurt Angle in one of the regional circuits. That's where my brain went other way. Went funny.
That's kind of cool, though. Like, I mean, think about that for a moment. If you had the chance to wrestle with Kurt Angle, I mean, tell us more. I'd like to know more about that.
No, it was just very preliminary. I was talking to an individual that had the opportunity to basically set it up. At least that's what was the talks. And instead of with Kurt Angle or myself, they went a different direction, I believe.
Understood.
Yep.
Understood. Guys, don't forget, this is there's a live chat going on right now on the right-hand side of your screen. For those of you that are live right now on YouTube, to those later on tuning in on iTunes and Stitcher, we always thank you very much for downloading and listening and or watching the show. TJD Fins for Life still wants to know one thing. If Kelvin Gastelum embarrasses Anderson Silva, Anderson shouldn't get that super fight with George St. Pierre. If possible, he'd rather see Anderson Silva face Vitor Belfort on a fight night in Brazil. Now, before you answer, I like the idea because those two guys fighting in Brazil would set the country on fire. It would be absolutely amazing. And that's no pun intended there. It's just, it'd be a great fight. But the argument can be made, TJD, that that's a fight, Anderson Silva, George St. Pierre. It's a fight that everybody's wanted to see for such a long time. So I could see the UFC really saying, you know what? We could do both, man. We'll do Anderson, GSP, whatever happens there. We'll do Anderson in Brazil and something else with George St. Pierre because they're all about sports entertainment. It's all about the money fights right now.
No, that's 100%. And even if Anderson loses and even if George loses, that could be a direction they go anyways. It's still, that's kind of just a fun one. That's basically us playing video games and watching it happen in real life.
NIH, what's Kurt Angle, Goldberg, and Showdown Joe all have in common? Huh?
That's why I was all confused. That's why I was all confused with Kurt Angle and Goldberg.
Kurt Angle, Goldberg, and Showdown Joe. I can tell you one thing. I don't have their bodies. I wish I did, although I do work out quite often. I don't work out as much as them. Yeah, you're physically fit, dude. You're fine. You're a professional athlete, which is what Sean Pearson is trying to do. I don't know if you've heard Sean's bitching and complaining about him trying to get back into really good shape. And he tries to do it after our podcast at 10 o'clock at night. Like 9 to 10, he's on with me. And he's like, oh, I'm going to go to the gym now. I'm like, it's late, dude. Like, don't you want to do that a little earlier? Do it first thing in the morning, right?
So better late than never. Or twice. That's true. Or both.
Yeah, very true. A bit more to talk about in the world of mixed martial arts. Did you watch the Bellator show? Did you have a chance to watch King Mo and Rampage at all?
I tuned in sporadically. I saw most of the highlights.
Okay, so King Mo is, I guess, he exacts revenge over Rampage. There was I don't know if there was, someone correct me if I'm wrong, if that was a single leg or a high crotch when he just took down Rampage like a piece of paper. It was just fantastic the way he was able to get that takedown. But again, there was no finish in that fight. But he does exact the revenge, and then we find out what basically that fifth fight on the Bellator New York City pay-per-view card is going to be. It's not going to be Phil Davis against Ryan Bader. It's going to be King Mo versus Ryan Bader. Do you agree with that matchmaking?
Yeah, I can understand why Ryan Bader. Again, I think obviously having Ryan Bader take on King Mo, there's an opportunity there to see who wins, and then you get the eventual matchup with the champ. There's obviously a reason towards it, and I'm not angry about it. I don't necessarily like throwing Ryan Bader right into a title shot might not be the answer, but then again, it was with Tarek
Safin, or not Tarek Safin, sorry, Lorenz Larkin.
Lorenz Larkin. So, like, again, there's obviously options, and it's interesting because those are obviously the two most stacked divisions in some ways in Bellator at this moment. In many ways, 205 and 170. I think 170 can go hand in hand against the current 170 in UFC, and I think 205, other than and that was the interesting thing for that moment when with Misha, right, when Dana White, was being serious and said he will never fight in the UFC, is now fighting May 29th in the UFC. But I digress. 205. It has quite a roster. Obviously, they don't have the number 1, number 2, and number 3, but they got a hefty chunk of the top, 10 light heavyweights in the world.
Well, that division, people are giving lots of love to that division. I have this
But
curse.
sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
But then again, what's his name? What's it called? King Mo said he wants to fight the winner of Matt Mitrione versus Crow Cop. So there's that aspect. That's what I meant. Because he already fought Crow Cop. Fedor versus Matt Mitrione.
Now, I don't blame King Mo for saying that, because obviously the smart thing to do when you get to a certain level is, it's honestly, it's the Chael Sonnen theory. Sonnen was planting seeds all over the place as to who he was going to fight. I know there's a 90% chance I'm going to fight this guy, but guess what? You loser over there, you dummy over there, you this, you're that over there, planting seeds everywhere. So King Mo, I think, is doing a fantastic job. TJD Fids for life. Who's Elias fighting next? He can't break it yet. We talked about it at the top of the show. Unfortunately, we cannot bring it up just yet. Graham Williams, do you think any of GSP's motivation for returning to the main stage is tied into further acting aspirations, or is this return purely for sporting reasons / further cementing his legacy? I'm going to go with B on that, because the acting gigs he can still get. I know for a fact that he does have some ideas were thrown his way. But in terms of GSP, he realizes that to be an elite athlete, you've only got X amount of time, and if he wants to finish it off, he told me at the Gentleman's Expo, he goes, I don't ever want to look back when I'm in my 60s and say coulda, shoulda, woulda. Just do it, win or lose, get it done. And then they can go to acting, where you can act for the rest of your life. You can't fight professionally at a high level for the rest of your life. Elias?
I'd say all of the above in some regard. I don't think it's directly acting, but I think it's the idea of staying relevant. In many ways, obviously, he is a iconic brand, a real namesake, and not only in this part of the woods, but around Canada and around, even more broadly, the world. So I think obviously there's the hunger and the money. It's definitely a deciding factor, but I think in many ways it's all the above. There's not one specific thing that's bringing him back. Although maybe for instance, the athletic strive for his his plan to be once again the top in the world, at this time a different weight class. That might be the biggest one. So there's no, coulda, woulda, shoulda comebacks. I think that the money was also a big factor. And this, in the end, will definitely keep him relevant in regards to the fact that he has been retired my whole UFC career.
That's right. Yeah. You got in, he's gone.
I have that effect on people.
Yeah. Have you had a chance to train with? Or no, you just got to Montreal. So you think you'll be on the mats there when you're there?
If not, yeah, definitely. I assume. Yep. I haven't gone the last couple of days because I had to do a couple of things with my taxes and a couple of things with this and a couple of things with that. So I'm and also the cut. The sparring today in the morning. No point in me doing a little bit of sparring, but it's not pretty.
Speaking of taxes, for those that don't know, I guess in the States it's the same. Our taxes are due April 30th. Mine are done. And for those that follow me on social media, follow Elias for sure, at Elias Theodorou. You can follow Joe Ferraro, me, at Showdown Joe. For those that, one of my other businesses, my team video, I had to go to Vaughan and Concord, places you know very well, Elias. Mm-hmm. Vaughan, Concord, and Woodbridge, and that's where my accountant is based. And if you want to talk about a sparring session and a near fight session, it almost took place there due to some miscommunication. Let's just say that. So yeah, Showdown Joe owes a fair amount of taxes because of some incorrect errors that were made. Fine. You got to pay them. I still want to do this podcast. I don't want to do it from behind bars. So yes. Yeah, anyways, I was doing a bunch of business out there and I got a chance to go see my accountant and realize, we need a raise or do some other work real quick. No, kidding. I'll be able to pay it off, no problem. What do we have here? NI space H. Sorry, I can't pronounce that properly, but I think GSP wants the McGregor fight. Pretty sure it would do well over 2 million pay-per-view buys. Of course, he wants that fight. I think everybody wants that fight. If you're in mixed martial arts, Elias would take that fight versus Conor McGregor in a heartbeat because money.
I just don't know how that would work. He's so little. And I couldn't get down to to his weight, unless legs grow back. I really like my legs, so I would try. Let's do it at 180. Let's do it at one. I couldn't even make 170.
Yeah, we had this conversation. I remember you and I had this conversation.
Yep.
No chance.
No chance.
No way. Elias's top, TJD Fins for Life. Elias's top 3 dream opponents, any weight class. Oh, I like that.
Any weight class. Well, now again, we were talking about Anderson Silva. I would love to fight him after my next fight, if that pertains. Again, he's someone that is obviously still not only a namesake but a staple in regards to the middleweight division. And just the mixed martial arts in general. In regards to that, it'd be crazy to see to be in there with someone like John Jones. Just the ability, and he's so game. Like, he's so game. And whether it's watching him firsthand beat Alex Gustafsson with probably a 2-week training session, and what's it called, partying his ass off and didn't even taking it serious. And that was the night before I went to the Ultimate Fighter and was just mesmerized how this young champion was able to pull through the deep waters. But at the same time, know that he was partying his ass off is both impressive and ridiculous. But I think the final one, it wouldn't even be me. I would love to be someone I would have loved to be Randy Couture if he got the chance at fighting Fedor in his prime. You know what I mean? What that meant. Again, it's not only about me, it's about certain fights that could have happened or should have happened or did happen. So to put in perspective, I currently would love to fight someone like Anderson Silva for obvious reasons. It would be amazing to be in the cage with John Jones. And the final one, in regards to the hype and the moment that it represented, if instead of going to court and not failing, Randy Couture was to fight someone like Fedor, because again, the hype of what that could have been.
Absolutely. I remember having a conversation at the MGM, or was the Mandalay Bay, with a few of the media members. We were just talking, and there's a few guys in the media that train. We've done our sparring, we've done our jits, we've got our belts or whatever, and did our Muay Thai, and our shins hurt far more than our fists or elbows. And we were just talking, and this conversation had come up, and they're like, who would you like to have, if you ever had a chance to fight? I'm like, forget about fighting. For me, it's sparring, just to have fun and see what it's like to see. Because I've had the luxury of sparring and training with Damian Maia, Kenny Florian, Phallus Latis. All three obviously toyed with me. That's just a fact. I'm a media member. I'm not a professional fighter. It'd be like Elias and I messing around. Antonio Carvalho was one of my number one trainers and instructors ever. I mean, people don't understand, you can be the toughest guy in your gym, but when you go and try and spar a UFC caliber fighter or someone in the UFC, you'll quickly realize and get humbled right away. So these are guys that would let me basically do whatever I wanted to do. And then when they decided it was over, it was over. It's that simple. Like Damian Maia, trying to grapple that guy was something else. I took his back 86 times and hooks in, choke basically in. And when he decided it was over, I'm tapping into an armbar. He caught me in a double armbar like this. And I was like, I'm not tapping. I can't tap. I don't want to tap. And oh my God, I can't get out. The guy was just so tight with everything. It was fantastic. But it just goes to show you when you're at that level. So an example, like Elias and I, Elias would let me get away with murder until he said, okay, it's over. And then one leg kick, and I'm like, okay, I'm good. I've taken leg kicks, but not from those meat legs. I mean, those things are crazy. But that'd
be very unfortunate if all of a sudden I kick you in the middle of jiu-jitsu.
Well, jiu-jitsu, yeah. No, I'm just saying, even sparring with the gloves on, mouth guard, and headgear. I had stated at the time, which is when Lyoto Machida was in his prime, I would love to have put the gloves on, mouth guard, and headgear and gone to a ring or a cage with Lyoto Machida, not to try and knock each other out, but to see if I could actually hit the guy. if I could land a punch or a combination. These guys started freaking out on me like, you're an idiot. What's wrong with you? And I'm like, we're having a hypothetical conversation. Why don't you guys settle down?
Yeah. Easy,
you know?
Chacho.
Yeah, like relax. But that's the kind of stuff that would intrigue me, would be to get in there with someone of that.
Yeah.
Like, he was so elusive. Like, where is he? Try and land that punch. Yeah. Where is he? Right? That would have been kind of cool. I mean, is there anyone that you ever looked at for that specific reason where you're like, man, that'd be so cool? Back in the day, could have been anyone. Maybe Hoist Gracie back in the day when he had the gi on. Can you survive with him? Or just, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no. Machida would be, again, like a great example of someone I would love to, especially being in the middleweight division. There's a whole host of them. I would love to see what Daniel Cormier's wrestling's like. Again, I would love to train with a whole bunch of other people. They're totally, because again, like for instance, when I was in Buffalo, not Buffalo, rather, he's fighting in Buffalo, but when I was in New York, Long Island specifically, doing training rather training with Chris Weidman, while he was champion, I got to see what the best middleweight in the world felt like. So there's those same aspects, but on a different scale.
Yeah, great stuff coming in the live chat, guys. Don't forget, if you have any questions or comments or suggestions, by all means, put it up there. I will try and go through them all and get to as many as I can while we're doing this podcast. Who's the biggest heavyweight or highest caliber heavyweight that you ever trained with? And the reason why I asked this, another luxury I had was with Travis Brown. And Travis Brown, obviously, when someone goes, for example, I mean, he went in on a double leg on me, and it wasn't like he did it fast. He just says, I'm going to take you down, Joe. That's just how it's going to be. And the drill, the first thing you want to do with when someone goes for any sort of a takedown, you want to get that underhook in there. Dude, I had that underhook as deep as I could get it in, and he picked me up in the air like I was this little World Cup trophy here. Like it was.
That's the scale. That's actually the scale. The difference.
It is. And I remember texting, I think it was Antonio or Justin Bruckman after a while. I'm like, dude, I had the underhook on this guy. And they're like, no, he's a heavyweight. Doesn't matter what you do. You just need to run. Do not, under any circumstances, let him get close to you. And I was like, oh my God, like these dudes are so strong. I'm 5'7". This morning I was 183 pounds. Okay. I've got strength. Not Travis Brown's strength. So I asked you,
little man.
Exactly. I heard from stories in the Ultimate Fighter House. I told the story of Mike Ricci telling me one time how he had beef with Coach Shane Carwin, and they decided to just get into the ring and sort of settle it.
Dumbest idea ever. Really?
He said Shane Carwin, when he puts his hand on your head, you're not moving. You're done. And this is a legit fighter. Like Ricci fought in the UFC, and it's like Shane Carwin is just an absolute monster. So I asked you, who's the highest caliber heavyweight that you ever trained with? And when you realize, holy smokes, this sucks.
I can't really but again, I get up to there's a difference between Mike Ricci and myself. I'm like 218, 220 pounds. So there's not that much difference. There's like a 20-pound, there's less of a difference between what King Mo and Rampage Jackson fought at. There's more difference in regards to that. I was heavier than I'm heavier than King Mo at the moment, was when he weighed in. He was 212, I believe.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. You're true. Yes. You're not wrong.
So, what's it called? There's not been anyone, and I train with a great wrestler in regards to Corey Jarvis, who's out in Guelph University. He is a Pan Am champ, Commonwealth champ, Pan Am silver medalist, placed 6th in the Olympics, and he's 260 pounds. So, yeah, I've trained with some legit guys. I just think that there's a difference between 85 pounds and a guy that is 85 pounds for just an hour.
Yeah, I'd have to cut down to 145 or 155.
Yeah,
20 years ago, because that ain't happening right now.
Exactly.
That is not happening right now anytime soon. TJD Fins for life. Elias's worst injury. We talked about this when I came back from Mexico with me and my stupid surfboard incidents. But your worst injury wasn't in MMA, was it? It was when you were younger?
I broke my hand, 2 breaks, 4 fractures, took bone out of my hip and made me in your wrist. Bone graft, it sucks. I have arthritis in both my hands in general. Early stages of arthritis. the worst, I guess, one of the top injuries I've ever had was not in the cage. It was actually just after just after one of my fights. The after party was on the dance floor, and my dance partner, I took a tumble and I tried to be a gentleman, and they fell on my thumb and broke my thumb. So I
Oh
beat I beat
no!
someone in a minute. I beat I can't remember his name. Kent Clark in like a minute and 30 seconds, and then two dances into what's it called? The evening, my after party. Broke my thumb.
Oh, jeez. All right, we're gonna. I don't want to wrap this up just yet because I do want to get to some UFC 210. TJ Defense for life. Which fighter, if any, from Bellator is next in line to get a UFC fight? We'll get to that probably in the next show. Well, let's go real quick here. Let's go with let's do some rapid fire here.
Rapid fire.
Yeah. Well, my boy Kamaru Usman, Kush, who's my color commentator when I do play-by-play for Titan FC. He's taking on Sean Strickland. And Kamaru is adamant he's the best grappler at 170 pounds, and we all know the Damian Maia comparison there. Kamaru likes to put pressure on himself. He's got a tough fight in Sean Strickland. Obviously, I'm going to be biased. It's like someone asking me who wins Elias's fights. I'm going to pick Elias no matter what. But I'm going to obviously pick Kamaru in this fight. But Strickland. Sean Strickland's a tough guy. What do you got here at Kamaru and Strickland?
Strickland is definitely a very great fighter. I can't remember, was his last fight Tom Breeze?
Strickland's last fight?
Yeah.
I think you're right. Yeah, Tom Breeze. It was Tom Breeze split decision, UFC 199.
Yeah, so that one, again, I think there's definitely opportunities for your man to basically pull it off in that regards in the grappling department. I think there is definitely a whole... Not necessarily a hole. There's an eagerness in regards to Strickland to be a banger. He's obviously one of Sam Alvey's top training partners. There's going to be a want. And in his last fight against Breeze, he even showed, not even disdain, frustration when things didn't happen, even though, I kind of disagreed with the result with Tom Breeze. I thought Tom won that. But I think so did Strickland. I think he was in many ways very vocal, or not vocal, very obvious in his frustration in the fight. And I think there's a way for him to be capitalized on that.
Charles Oliveira taking on Will Brooks on the main card. People were wondering if Charles Oliveira and Thiago Alves, who's also on the main card, are going to make weight. I will say yes, they will make weight because Charles Oliveira and Thiago Alves have moved back to the divisions where they basically got started in the UFC. Oliveira now competing at 155 against Will Brooks, and I think Will Brooks is still adamant he needs to make a point since coming over to the UFC. So I think Will Brooks is not saying Charles Oliveira won't be hungry in this fight. I think Will Brooks is probably going to want it just a bit more, and is going to prove why he's going to be some sort of threat at 155 pounds.
No, I think I would go with that assumption. I think Emmanuel Oliveira, he's kind of, chipped away. I think going down to the weight class has chipped away at his overall performance, overall fight arc. I think Will Brooks still has a lot of fight in him, and you see it on social media and stuff. I think he's much more hungry.
Thiago Alves taking on Patrick Cote. Ladies and gentlemen.
Cote. Yeah, I'm a little biased myself.
There's no point in asking two Canadians, hypothetically, some Canadians, about that fight there. We're going to just say Patrick Cote. It won't be an easy fight, but I will edge toward Patrick Cote. Cynthia Calvillo taking on Pearl Gonzalez. I will give the edge to Cynthia. This can be a close fight. Many people are saying, actually, I didn't check the actual odds on this fight here. If you give me 1 second here, yeah, Cynthia's a minus 260 favorite, Pearl plus 220. It's safe to say, are you going with Cynthia as well?
Parlay that, baby.
Parlay that. Okay. The next fight, co-main event, Chris Weidman, who you've trained with before. He's taking on Gegard Mousasi, who says there won't be any takedowns, I promise. I like this fight. A lot of people are looking at this fight as the fight on the card, despite that crazy main event. But Chris Weidman, I don't think he can really afford to lose a fight because Gegard's on the upswing. He should have been up there a long time ago. Weidman, former champion in this division. A lot of stories heading into this one.
No, definitely, and especially with I'm biased in the sense that love Chris. I love his whole team. Longo, Matt Serra, all those guys. It's one of those tough ones because he has only lost to two dangerous individuals. Like, he lost, unfortunately, in dramatic fashion to Luke Rockhold, and then again following up with Yoel Romero. So obviously going from champion to where he finds himself now is a new feeling, and obviously not one that anyone would be happy with. But I think there is a big opportunity to get back to his winning ways in a spectacular form with Gegard. Obviously, Gegard is tough. He's has, like Longo was even talking about in one of the articles I read, 3 times maybe 4 times the amount of fights than he does. So there's obviously the more wealth of experience, even considering that one of them was champion in Gegard's aspect. But that's the reality of mixed martial arts. And I've seen other subsequent articles talking about the need potentially for tune-ups after the fact. And no slight against some of the fighters that someone would be fighting. I just think, putting Chris Weidman against such dangerous fighters in many ways could take away someone like a star like that. But at the same time, Chris is eager to get right back to his championship ways. So who better to do that than against someone like Gegard Mousasi? So again, another one of those biased ones. I'm going for Chris, but you can definitely see how Gegard, who's on the upswing, could take this.
And of course, we have the main event for the light heavyweight championship of the world,
Joe,
rematch between
Joe. This is the main event. MANE. Brought to you by
correct.
Pert. Volumizing. But go on.
The MAIN event.
There you go. Thank you for clarifying.
For you, 210. Daniel Cormier, Anthony Rumble Johnson, the rematch. This one is for the light heavyweight championship of the world again. Is it just simply, I know it's a surface level comment, but for the sake of time, Anthony Johnson early, Daniel Cormier late?
Yeah, and one doesn't even have to say late, past the second round, I'd say. But at the same time, I've had a conversation with a buddy Dave of mine. He basically said this, and I agree with him. In many ways, Daniel Cormier has to fight the perfect fight, whereas Anthony Johnson just has to get him once.
Yeah, and that's an easy theory and a smart theory when you think about it, because Anthony Johnson, one punch. People crumble.
Teeth into the front row. But again, and that's also the other aspect being how much damage has DC taken over the years. We don't really know. What we do know, the multiple surgeries, he's pulled out of fights before. He's gone to wars with both Gustafsson and Thingamajigger. Like, he should probably be a middleweight. I've seen him. I've met him. He's smaller than me. Like, he's itty bitty. So
the question that was asked yesterday, just to follow up on that, one final question before we let you go, was the fact that if DC loses to Anthony Johnson, does he retire? And the conversation spun to, he should go to heavyweight. And you're saying middleweight.
Well, he should be a middleweight in general. He's a big boy, but this sphere, not this sphere. You know what I mean? Like, there's an extra tire. Like, I get to probably if I want to get fat, I could get to his weight, and I am also 3 inches taller than him.
Understood. All right, before we let you go, I get to travel. So I'm leaving tomorrow for Buffalo. I'm looking outside. It is absolutely pouring rain. I had this incredible idea, Elias, to take the winter tires off my truck and put on the all seasons. That ain't going to happen because it looks like it's going to be raining for the next few days. It could probably snow in Buffalo. So I'll be driving down there with the winter tires. But that'll be my traveling. Buffalo and back. I'll be back home by Sunday. So all the podcasts for Fightful will be conducted from Buffalo until I get home on Sunday and be back to our regular schedule. What's the next week going to be like for you? Is it just going to be TriStar?
Yep, here till the 15th, it seems. My April is not as crazy until... Actually, no, I got a couple of fun things in the works. Dean Pascoe, the shout-out that I made for the guy that's going to get the tattoo, we're finalizing it. It's going to be the last last weekend of April or the first weekend of May. So we're going to figure that out. And, he's going to get a little bit of Pert Plus in his what's called box on the way out. And we're going to have a really cool thing that we're going to film and put together.
Looking forward to seeing that. Make sure you follow Elias online, because he will have everything up there at Elias Theodorou on all the social media, because the guy's an absolute mess when it comes to some of the stuff he does on Instagram. I love it. What's this? TJ Finch, I'm driving from Hartford, Connecticut to Calgary, Alberta, to see Landstorm School 30 Jars. Safe travels to both. Thank you, sir. Safe travels. Thank you. And he predicts Cormier by ground finish and Cote by KO. Fair predictions. Yes, for predictions. Like I said, make sure you do follow Elias online at Elias Theodorou. His Instagram alone is fantastic. Some of the comments he makes on Twitter are ridiculous, but they're awesome. I love them. He makes me cry laughing and emotionally. We're close that way. It's disturbing, I know. Follow yours truly at Showdown Joe, and of course at Fightful MMA. Visit FightfulMMA.com for all your mixed martial arts news. We thank everybody who tunes in live to watch the podcast, the video podcast. We also thank those afterwards on iTunes and Stitcher who downloaded. We always love to hear your thoughts. Make sure you do hit us up. And to all of you in the live chat, as always, we thank you once again. Tomorrow, it will likely be 9:30 p.m., perhaps 10 p.m. Eastern when I get on here again, because I do have to travel to Buffalo. I have to do all the UFC media interviews and stuff like that, and then get back to the room, get all kinds of footage up on Fightful MMA. You don't know what I'm going to be posting up there other than regular interviews. We'll see what I can get. And then Sean Pearson will be joining me tomorrow, who'll probably be super pissed off that I'm in Buffalo and he's still stuck up here in our town northeast of Toronto. But for now, we thank you all. We thank you again on the live chat. We thank those who have tuned in. And as always, ciao for now. I'll see you guys tomorrow from Buffalo, New York.